In this video, I have tips and tricks on how you can take pages from one planner that you love, but maybe you don't love the binding, and add them to another planner where you actually love the binding, the planner a bit better. So stay tuned. Sometimes you just love the layout of one planner. The pages, the inserts are absolutely perfect, but maybe you just don't like the book itself. Maybe you prefer the versatility of rings compared to a hardbound, and you'd rather have these pages in rings. Whatever the reason for wanting your pages from one planner into another, I've got tips and tricks for you today to figure out whether or not you can do it with those pages, and how to cut the pages to make sure that you don't lose any important information. And make sure you stay tuned to the very end, because I'm going to be announcing the winner of the corner rounder. Okay, so let's get started. So why would you want to cut down pages? Let's say that you have a planner that you like the pages, you like the layout. This is a daily layout. You like the layout of the pages, but you don't like the binding. You don't like that it's this one, for example, is a bound book, and you'd rather have rings. That's why you would cut these pages out of this book, punch them, and put them into a ring binder. But it's not always that simple, because these pages may not fit in the other ones. So you're going to need to cut them down so that they will fit into the binding that you want. So to start, we're going to take this one and put it into a ring binder. I'm going to just trim these pages with a craft knife, and I'll be right back. So I cut these out with this little craft knife, but they're a little ragged, so I am going to just neaten up the edges with my trimmer. Now, when you're cutting with the trimmer, try not to put too many pages. Don't go over like the maximum of what your trimmer can handle, because then you're going to get ragged cuts if you've got too many. So now that we have our pages, we want to look at both sides of all the pages to see what can be cut and what we need to leave. I want to put it into this planner, and so the pages will fit pretty nicely. They're the same size, they're a little bit shorter, so there's not much of a problem. You don't have to cut them down to make them fit. All I'm going to do is punch the holes, and this will fit in nicely. So that's pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy. So we started with the easiest. Now let's move on to a little more difficult. Let's say you have these pages and you want to put them into a traveler's notebook. These are pretty much the same height, but they're quite a bit larger than the pages. It's probably a good 2 centimeters there. Now it may seem self-explanatory here to just cut off the ragged edge and then cut off the excess to make it fit, but if you cut off that excess on this page, you're going to get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday cut off, and you won't have those. So since what I want to do is just glue it into this traveler's notebook, I'm going to treat each page differently. Okay, so we're going to do it this way. I'm going to cut the middle off of this one and cut the edge off of this one, but on this one I'm going to cut here and just that one slice. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to glue it into this traveler's notebook. Now you have pages from one of the paper house planners in a Carpe Diem Traveler's Notebook. Okay, so this one is a Kiki K, and this is a Happy Planner, and we're going to have to take off some from the top, some from the bottom, and some from all four, well, basically all four sides. So the best thing that I find to do is to take one of the pages out and lay it on and see what can be cut off, what can be left, to maximize your space. So let's do the spread so we can see all the things we want to keep and all the things that we can cut off. So I'd rather keep the days of the week. So I'm going to place it here. And we really aren't losing a lot of planner bits. We're losing some of the excess. But here there's a tiny little bit that's the note section. We're going to lose some on Thursday as well. And then the same thing here. We're going to cut here and there. So I'm going to cut those, and I'll be right back. And now you can slip the pages into your planner, and you can use the pages that you love from a book that you don't love in a book that you do love. So there you have your inserts in your new planner all ready to be used. You have to decide whether the pages that you want to cut down can be cut down, because sometimes there's things right to the edges of the pages that you aren't going to be able to cut off. For example, on this one you have Sunday, so you could cut this off and make Saturday into weekend, because on this side, which is also the back of this page, you just have a notes, goals, gratitude section. So those could be trimmed off and you could trim it down to this size, but knowing you'd have to change the Sunday to Saturday and Sunday weekend in the Saturday line. You can also cut off the top and the bottom of this one because it's just decoration. So if you're okay with getting rid of Sunday, you could cut this down to 3 columns per page. This one is a similar situation. You'd have to cut off a whole day, plus these ones are dated, so it's a bit tougher. You'd have to cut off October, and the same is on the back. So always be cautious of what's on the other side of the page that you're cutting. You think, oh, I can cut off this, I don't need the note section, but you also have to realize that what you're doing is cutting off the Sunday of the page behind. So be very careful of what is on the back. Sometimes there's some margin on the inside, and you will need that space to punch your holes if you're using a ring or disc, but if you're just gluing it into a traveler's notebook, those could be trimmed down to the inside of the line. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about dashboards. So there's a lot of these really fun dashboards, but they don't always fit for every planner that you have. So I'm going to show you some different ways you can adjust these designs and cut them down so they will fit in the planner that you want to put them in. So let's stick with this one for now. And the best thing to do is to get a really thin page. So if you have a thin page, then you could sort of see what's peeking through. This one isn't too bad because all you're going to do is take about 1/4 centimeter or so off of each side. But what if we have a smaller planner that needs more taken off? So let's say you wanted to put it in this small happy planner. You're going to have to cut off a lot, and these pages are pretty thick. But if you cover up the design as best you can. Look, I can get all of that design covered up, so I'm going to get all the design. I'm just going to lose out on some of the stuff around the edge. I can trim it off to where I want it to be. This one is the same thing, except we're going to lose some of the flowers. This one is a bit different because the phrase is not centered, so we don't want to cut off any of the phrase, but we can cut off a little bit of the truck. So what we're going to do is get as close to the edge of that as possible. We can come down from the top because there's a lot of white space, or we can trim off some of the pumpkins, but I'm going to take off some of the white space, and I'm going to be careful of where the holes are being placed so that I'm not cutting into any of the words. So there you see, if I go up a little bit to trim off some of the pumpkins, I'm going to cut off some of the B with the hole. So I'm going to go down to sort of center the B between these two holes so I can get as much of it as possible. And then I can mark the 3 sides. We're going to lose a lot of the truck, but that's okay. Then you'll have your dashboard. This one takes up a lot of the page, and if you cover it up, you are just going to get the phrases. Here, because it's so much larger, you're probably going to lose some of the letters. But if you really want to have this in your planner, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit. And then you just pop it in, and you're good to go. Cute little dashboard. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe below. Let's get on to the winner of the giveaway for the quarter rounder. This is going to be going out to Sandy Kozak. So Sandy, please email me at kara@thehootingpire.com, and I will send this out to you next time I'm at the post office. Congratulations. Next week we are going to be back into washi, but not decorative tips this time. It's going to be more of how to use washi in a more functional way, and tips and tricks of easy ways to cut it and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. You can click the little notification bell so you don't miss it. You can click here on my little face to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss any videos coming up. There are 2 videos here that you can watch. In the meantime, I will see you next week. Have a fantastic day and happy planning.